And we are live. Hi, everyone. #1 Marmaduke fan here. And today I am joined by Tim Morris and Mike Moore, the main duo behind the fabulous independent comic column. Say hi, Tim and Mike.
Hello.
Tim and
Mike. We did it at the same time.
We did it at the same time.
That was useful for just learning us as one mono voice.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like we don't sound alike or anything.
Well, you two are a real duo. You know, I mean, you even have like the creepy horror movie twin thing going on. Come and play with us. All right, so Tim, you're the lead writer, and Mike, you're the audio director. So I don't know, Tim, tell us a little bit about what you do for Column.
I am the creative director. I basically created the characters' personalities, the setting. I did the majority of the writing. Characterization, and I handled some of the editing, and then I do kind of everything that small business independent comic person has to do. And Mike and I both do those kind of things. So as that goes. Hello, Timothy Lim. I just saw him popping in the chat.
Whoa. All right. Man, maybe we should have him on.
Hey, he wants to join us, so whatever.
All right.
Sounds good to us.
Hey.
Florence. Oh, wow. Lots of people I'm recognizing.
Gosh, a lot of cool people. All right.
Yeah. Mike, you want to explain what you do?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, all right. So we have like an audio component with music and basically character logs that are added to the backstory and stuff. That Tim wrote them, and I just had to like edit all the audio and make the music.
You also engineered on it live, man. You did a lot more to do with that than maybe.
And then I do a little bit of contributing writing and helped him maybe organize his thoughts.
Yeah,
he's like
he keeps me grounded. I'm creative. He reels me in, and then also like I have mild dyslexia, so like I write shit that doesn't make any sense, and then he has to call it. If you'll notice by my typos in our Twitter all the time. So
I really enjoyed reading the entirety of Volume 1. So I've got a question about just like the genesis of this project. So what was kind of like going on in you guys' brains when you come up with like World War III and girls riding a giant Hellcat Abrams tank? Tell us a little bit about what sparked this project in the first place.
Okay, so what sparked this is Mike and I had been I've been trying to break into the gaming industry. I wanted to do game production and design, and as a lot of you guys know who maybe have explored that, it's pretty ruthless. No one helps you, and no one ever does what they say they're going to do. So Mike and I, we were working on a project together for someone else, and it had to do with like it was like a tiny tank game, and I started writing to myself like, how do you characterize the tanks? And like, oh, okay, well, let me kind of make them from the nations they are, make them more like colorful, and like so the crew does this, and like I was basically fishing these ideas. That whole project falls apart. Mike and I say, all right, you know, he was the one doing the music for that. We say, all right, well, this really sucks, and we're really tired of basically people bailing on us. We're just going to do our own thing. So we form a company. We're thinking maybe we'll write an animation pilot. Maybe we'll do light novels with a music CD added, something that basically used both of our talents. And then we met Ben, who was going to do the art for basically the light novel. And he said, you know, this would really work really well as a graphic novel. So we said, okay. So that's just what we did. Yeah. That's the origin of that. The reason why the whole World War III thing, I don't know it's not really a spoiler, but there's this device called the disruptor device that like messes with long range radios and radars and GPS and stuff. And basically we thought we wanted to make it in the modern era. We didn't want to do historical fiction. We wanted to just kind of tell our own crazy story. And one of the things we added that device because we thought, modern warfare is kind of boring if you take it any bit realistically, because there's just a lot of waiting around, and you get like artillery. There's not like that road trip feel, since there's like giant sweeping movements. Plus, like it would probably be over really fast because of the way conflicts move now. So we decided, all right, let's do a world war, but like everybody's got to deal with like Cold War era technology, and the radios don't work, and there's no UAVs and no air support and that kind of stuff. And that was kind of the feeling we went for, and what that kind of led to was sort of like a Red Dawn meets Dirty Dozen kind of feel, where people were kind of out on their own and having to discover themselves. So the logic behind that. It was pragmatic. So
it gives Volume 1 a real nice air of mystery where they know this disruptor exists, but they're not sure what it is or where it is or how exactly it works. Even like the bonus audio content adds to the mystery of it a little bit. So like in addition to like the mysteries, you know, within the story itself, you also have this interesting component of the audio dimension where I didn't know about that until I was like literally reading the book. And then I noticed that. And in addition to like people can download a few audio tracks with the digital edition of it. And you have a YouTube channel where you have, I recognize so many voices. You have professionals from the anime English dubbing industry doing these characters. Almost, it almost like makes a perfect image in my mind of what the Funimation dub of the column anime could have been. So tell us a little bit about that audio component.
The audio component it came from, I mean, we love anime and we love dubs, and we've actually met a lot of these people, and we thought like, well, what's that?
I should say like Tim's a very creative person, and he'll like brainstorm stuff. Although, like, I should say, you know, it seems like you get a lot of practice kind of designing things and doing this stuff just out of your own passion, not necessarily even a project. And so using actors, you know, you get things you're a fan of.
Sometimes when I'm like writing a character for either a game or really anything I'm working on, I'll like write down like who's voicing them, just because that just gives me like it solidifies in my head kind of what they sound like. And kind of from that, we're like, hey, you know, it would be really cool if there was like an extra level of immersion that were like the audio logs or like radio calls, kind of like from Metal Gear Solid or something like that. And there's this really obscure game called, it's not really obscure, but it was this game that came out a couple of years ago, probably 10 years ago at this point, called, I think it's called Dragon Rising Red River. Or is it Dragon Rising? No, Operation Flashpoint Red River. That's what it was called. Dragon Rising was the game before that. And there's these really, really cool trailers where it was basically like, it just took a squad member and it just dove deeper into their psyche about why they were in the military and kind of how they thought about things. And I thought it was really, really well done. I thought, hey, what if we kind of took that to the next level and we, you know, it was more fun and it was more characterization. And also, like, you know, it's more of a comedy story, and that game doesn't like, there's not really a lot of characterization in the game itself. But in our case, since we're writing a story, it's like, it's all characterization. If you don't have good characters, you don't really have a book, or you don't have a story, I'd rather. So I thought, like, what was kind of the next step of doing that? And this is also after having like kind of floated the idea of it being an animation pilot. So since I already kind of had these casting ideas, we reached out to Jeremy Lee, Brian Massey, and Alexis Dipton, who were all at the same con. And we had met, have we met all of them before that?
Jeremy, yeah.
We had met Jeremy before that. And basically, we reached out to their agent, because they all had the same agent at the time. And we said, hey, you know, we'd like to, you know, buy them dinner and ask, like, you know, basically pitch a job to them. You know, this is our budget, yada, yada. And the agent said yes, and they said yes. And we're like, oh, okay. And then we kind of like almost didn't know what to do, because we didn't expect to have that opportunity. Yeah, so we took it really seriously. We're like, okay, you guys are professionals, and this is what we're looking to do. And that's basically the product we ended up with, was working with them. So if they had said no, then maybe we would have taken it a different direction. But hey, it
worked out.
It worked out, and people who explore it seem to really like it. So
Evie of the Sea says she is subscribed to Rob Blake Productions on YouTube.
Thank you. We can't get a channel URL until we have 1,000 people.
Yeah.
So in the book, it's got a URL code that goes like a QR, but it goes to the playlist, not to the channel. So
that way you can update it later.
Yeah, if we can, yeah. But at some point, we'll get our URL, and then won't be an issue.
Evie asked this, so this might be a good time to talk about it.
Sure.
She asked, is it like Girls und Panzer?
Is it like Girls und Panzer?
I would say it's not. There's not as much moe. It's not as cute per se.
No, it's if you like your own Girls und Panzer, you might like this. I don't want to say like, oh, it's not in the same genre. Yeah, it's cute chicks with tanks. Like,
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of, or a moderate amount of overlap.
Moderate amount of overlap in that way. But in terms of the way Girls and Panzer is, Girls and Panzer is like kind of a lot of moe, and it's this kind of sweet, wholesome story with these quirky characters, and they're in a school. This is more like the characters are fighting for their lives.
Yeah.
So there's a little more. Well, I should say there's a lot more at stake. People actually get shot in the face, like bad things happen. It's a little wackier. It's more like an 80s action movie as opposed to Girls and Panzer, which is a little more, I guess, I don't know, slice of life.
Right.
This doesn't really have that feel to it. But we've had a lot of people who say they loved Girls and Panzer, and then they were like, "This is perfect. We wanted something like this." And I'm like, okay. So
I think it's worth digging into because you do have this like legit, you know, I can tell you're war nerds from Volume 1 of Column, and I dig it because you help me kind of like get what some of the technology is and basically what the capabilities and limitations of a World War II era tank are, and you know why it needs 4 people to operate it. Even in some of like the audio logs, I think it's Lieutenant Hunter's log. She mentions how it's not like a Mobile Suit Gundam where you just jump in it and start blasting off people. You need teamwork. So tell us a little bit. Talk about like the military history geek aspect of it.
I'm definitely a military history nerd. I really love this stuff. I love guns. I love tanks. I love technology. I always find it fascinating. I read as much as I can. I talk to as many people as I can. I still make mistakes, obviously, as I'm sure some veteran who's picked it up will figure out pretty quickly. But that stuff just has always fascinated me. It's something that I didn't need to. I should say I could write a basis of a story for it, and not have to dive into like a lot of research. Like, for example, if it was about deep sea diving or something, like I'd have to like, pick up a couple books on that and really like learn that and learn to love it in order to write a good story about it. But tanks, I like tanks, so it wasn't that hard in that sense. It just was a logical choice. What was the other part of your question?
Let me think. The other part of my question, well, it's kind of related. So there's this, war drama aspect to it, where you've actually got like good details about, it doesn't make sense to drive a tank over this. You've got to get right.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to do, because we're the story, they'll be building a column of tanks, and that's why it's called Column.
Yeah.
So maybe the first volume, it doesn't make 100% sense, but basically they're going to be joined by the British and the French and like a bunch of other goofy crews.
Yeah.
And what I did with the crews is that not only do they play their roles in the tank and kind of fight as one group, they also are kind of I guess not the words like caricatures, but they're kind of an amalgam of archetypes.
Yeah.
They're an amalgam of the archetypes, basically making up the spirit of the country they're from.
Yeah.
So if you take basically if you take Hunter, Lexi, Kara, and Millie, and you kind of combine them, you get kind of the spirit of the United States. You get hardworking, you get the kind of poise and the leadership, but you also get some of the silliness and you get some of the darkness, and they're kind of they kind of make up the American spirit. That was the idea with them, and that was why it's more of a crew than just like, get in the robot and blow everybody up.
Yeah. Another aspect of that is the characters themselves. So what's funny is like the girls are on the cover, but are kind of the viewpoint characters for Volume 1 are mostly it's John Hatch and Jack. What's Jack's last name?
Arnold.
Jack Arnold. Yeah, and so what's nice is like Jack makes Halo jokes because he's not exactly a military a very thorough military guy, right? So you have these viewpoint characters who kind of help us, who may not be like super war buffs, enter into the story, and then they encounter the crew piloting the Hellcat. Could you talk a little bit about Jack and John's characters with me? Because I was really interested in like the personality difference between the two.
They came from kind of the initial draft of Column was a lot darker, and I had considered. Basically, it was like, okay, well, after making a lot of edits, I was like, there needs to be a character that experiences things to the audience so it can be explained to. So like somebody from the outside looking in, somebody has to kind of have more of the audience's perspective, and that'll allow us to kind of introduce the crew, who's kind of really the star of the show, in an interesting way, rather than just glossing over a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So Jack and Hatch were kind of one character at first, and then Mike and I, we were kind of split on like what we wanted to give this personality to, whether he was goofy and self-confident and clueless, or whether he was like not self-confident but more serious but more knowledgeable. And we were like, you know what would be better, since we also were like huge fans of Psych. It was if it was kind of a buddy cop thing where it was like, okay, we'll split them both up. That also allowed us, if you've read the story, it allows you to show things happening at the same time. It's just a little better narrative structure for kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
So that was kind of where that came from, was basically like, we have to give the audience a window, and we want to, obviously there's kind of that mystery and awe to these girls who show up, and it's kind of the best way to portray that is by having someone experience that, essentially, that the viewer can kind of see and relate to.
It gives us a frame of reference for what an average Joe is like, so we can kind of appreciate like the coolness of the tank crew.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, when the tank shows up, it's like it's a holy crap kind of moment, and there's lots of stuff. They're very clear in over their head, but the girls are kind of calm and cool about it, and that kind of gives them. It just sets the stage for really what the tone of the story is going to be.
I'd like to do a screen share and show people like some samples of the art as we talk, so we could talk a little bit about Benjamin Harvey's art as well.
Sure.
Is that cool? All right.
Go ahead.
All right, here we go. Now let's hope I don't dox everything about me. Here we go. Entire screen. Da-da-da. All right, so this is the cover for Column, drawn by Andava, right?
No, Ben drew it, and Andava colored it.
All right.
And he does amazing shading and explosions and stuff, and just, I don't know, it really pops, so we were super happy.
All right. Tell me a little bit about Benjamin Harvey, because you mentioned that Harvey was brought on originally for like the visual novel, and then Harvey suggests the idea that this would look good as a graphic novel. So what's and I can't help but notice, you know, like this almost like adorable Wind Waker style. So tell us a little bit about, you know, Harvey's contribution.
So Ben would probably be the best to ask about in terms of the specifics. But basically what happened was we had, I don't know if you go a couple pages forward where they're looking at the girls for the first time, you get more of like a realistic look of them. That was kind of the initial idea we had for like basically in between chapter art for a light novel. And when we switched over to a graphic novel, Ben was like, you know what? He wanted to do something more lighthearted, and I had been like floating a lot of like
I should say, I think we kind of did.
Yeah, we kind of did too. I mean, it wasn't like all.
Although I don't know if did you suggest to him at all that the art style should change?
No, he said that. Like it was something, you know, he basically he had a better sense of basically what art would fit the tone of what we were doing was. And he took inspiration from Metal Slug, which if you guys have played that game, you can really see it in this. And that was the style he developed.
Wow.
His other stuff I've seen, I mean, he does all kinds of things. He's a very busy guy. He's on so many books and covers, I can't even keep track. Like, you'll have to ask him. But from what I understand, he kind of developed this sort of for us, and because he thought it fit the tone of the story well. So that's where that went with. So he's pretty amazing.
Props to your artist, because, you know, before anyone like checks out a book, there's sort of like the, you know, like the memes of it and the pics of it floating around. And he has an art sensibility where if you like, you know, it's an art style that says, if you like cute anime stuff, you'll like this, but it's not exactly cute anime stuff. You do have he does have like a Western sensibility, and even like your sense of humor. It has like a good, you know, Western action movie vibe to it. So what it does is it sort of carves out, you know, like I could see weebs enjoying this. I could see like what, 80s action movie buffs really enjoying Colin.
That's exactly what we were going for. So that's really good to hear.
Yeah. And I love it, you know, because the adorable style itself is attention grabbing. And I give Benjamin Harvey a raise, all right? Because I definitely took one look at that and said, this looks adorable, this looks clever. I'm interested in seeing this based on that art.
Oh, tell people buy our book and we can give them a raise.
Yes. Okay. So speaking of, if the very first link in the description is the link to Column's Indiegogo campaign.
Yes.
So I want to explain to people like a little bit about what they get and why this is important. So you're funding a physical edition of the book, and you are also hoping to kickstart the funding of Volume 2, which I really, really want to see. Now,
yes.
So tell us tell us what the funding of the Indiegogo campaign, what that's going to accomplish, and what people are going to get.
Okay, so primarily in terms of what they're getting, there's only 2 tiers. And basically, tier 1 is just basically you get the book with the limited edition cover, and that should arrive before the book's in stores via Antarctic Press. So our goal is to get that to you as fast as possible. And this cover is going to be done by Miss Sashi, and it's just like a special print run. We're only doing like a very limited amount of those, and then that's it. That's not being done again.
Yep.
So that's like if you want like kind of a first edition and you want it a little early. And then the other op tier is one comes with 4 posters, and those are exclusive variants of our propaganda pinups. It's the 4 done by Andava, and they're like it's like special variants of those, and we're gonna print those once and never print them again.
Yeah.
So that's exclusive as well, and basically we're fundraising. That minimum is so we can do that initial print run. If we exceed that significantly, hopefully we'll be able to kickstart Volume 2. But that obviously there's 2 days left. It's a little that's a ways away. But now that at least we've made it and we'll have at least some supply, hopefully we can start selling stuff at conventions and make enough money to actually get Volume 2 in your hands.
Yeah.
So which Volume 2 is written, it's just I got to pay Ben enough money so he can take the time to do that because he's a super busy guy.
I actually forgot to mention this, but I did a review of you guys' book before I did the live stream with you guys. And
I didn't even see it. All right.
Yeah, I'll link that to you later. But
yeah, definitely.
For the video I did with the comic review, I said I'm giving away 2 video games on Steam to people who share the Indiegogo campaign for Column, and you've got to share it before I pick the winner tomorrow, Sunday.
Sweet.
We're not sure what time exactly it ends. Does it end like Sunday at midnight or like Monday midnight? The campaign.
So I somehow I thought I got it. Basically, it said ends on the 21st. So I figured it was going to be Monday at midnight. So I thought I had basically 48 hours as of this morning. But when I was checking it this afternoon, it still said 3 days. So I think the cutoff is Monday at midnight.
All right.
But it possibly could be maybe like midday or evening Monday. But it's one of those. I think it might be going off of when I actually like started it, which was Black Friday. I guess the Thursday before, like 11 o'clock or something like that. So 60 days past then, exactly. So, but I mean, it's coming to an end. So
pretty much get in sooner rather than later. Don't
yes, definitely.
Now, I based on like I read it in one sitting because I just got absorbed in it, and I was consistently enjoying myself. Just
cool.
when like the tank battle, I was thinking, man, this tank battle is so exciting. And then just when I need like a comedic bit, then there'd be a comedic bit. So you have like a good, I guess it's like a collaborative effort because it's the writing and the editing, right, working together. But
there was a lot of slaying of scenes that were going on too long with brilliant dialogue that I loved. But then it's like, no, it's time to change scenes.
By the way, I can't let this pass up, but character development for Hatch on this page right here.
Sorry, we have the.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I mean, sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes a man that is, who knows if he has a face or not? That's no spoiler free there. Sometimes that guy finds himself.
Well, Go ahead.
So one of the things I wanted to do with these guys, which I think is something that anime does really well, that I think a lot of modern comics aren't doing well, is they're very much guys. They're going to notice that beautiful women driving a tank have shown up, and they're young men, and these are young women, and they're going to notice that kind of stuff. So we wanted to kind of humanize them a little bit, as opposed to It seems like a lot of stuff now where it's like, oh yeah, that's taboo, and we're just like, forget it. That's what he's going to look at. This is what's happening, and this is what's happening. And
I've got to say, it's rated for teenagers 16 and up, but the suggestive themes that's like the equivalent of like a PG movie, and it's very innocent. It just adds some charm and humor to an action story, and I think a good action adventure story, it needs that spice of life and that kind of spice of a human connection to it. I wanted to mention that of all the characters, I really resonated with Hatch, and I don't know if we want to like dig in too much into the plot details of
sure.
1, but okay, so Hatch is like if Jack is kind of like the fun gamer, smart guy who's kind of an idiot, right? He just doesn't quite get it, but he's kind of like got more charm. Hatch is a little bit more of a straight everyman, but he's got this problem where he wants something. He knows exactly what he wants. It's in the please do check out their YouTube channel for the audio content because it's really interesting, some of the stuff. But all his life he's wanted to be in a officer in the U.S. Army, right? And this isn't a major spoiler. I guess it's a minor spoiler, but he has asthma. He has athletic-induced asthma. You find this out in like the first couple pages when he has to reach for his inhaler, and this makes him like, even in like World War III, the Army still doesn't want this guy, and that's just so heartbreaking. I really feel for him. So talk a little bit about that aspect of him.
Yeah, that one, I kind of there was a kind of a debate of like, do we make these guys like civilians? And I needed to give him a reason to like kind of sort of know what he's doing for the most part, to be able to counterbalance Hatch.
Yeah.
You
And
mean Jack?
I'm sorry, Jack.
Yeah.
And Hatch's whole thing with the asthma, that kind of comes from, it does. It comes from my personal experience. I was in ROTC for 2 years in the Army, for the Army in college, and I absolutely loved it. And I wanted to be an officer, and it was something I was really, really looking forward to. And basically, for medical reasons, I couldn't continue. And that was a real punch to the gut. Now, I wanted to do game design. I've had other aspirations and stuff, so it didn't end my life. But I kind of thought like maybe like, what if we took a character and like that was just what he was. That's just what he was going to do, and then it got and it's almost like he knows he's not going to be the best soldier, but he wants to at least be able to do it, and yeah. They're kind of holding him back. Circumstances are, and he doesn't have a lot of self-confidence, so it's kind of up to debate, like, as he causes his own problems in a lot of ways, and that was just kind of like, I wanted to add some kind of element to him. So I mean, these characters have the arc; they can't be Mary Sue's and be born perfect. So
yeah, that's
just kind of what happened. Basically, like, I saddled him with those problems, and I tried to get into his head, and then that's just kind of how the writing came out. So,
well, it worked. It's a universal. I'm touched to hear that you kind of drew from your own experiences for that, because it's a really human feeling, right? Like the feeling of you want something, but you're not sure if you're capable of getting it, and it adds a lot to them, because the viewpoint characters, they're kind of the comic relief, and the girls are stealing the show with the giant tank, but having that human element to them, I think, adds a lot. It's a real human element that just spoke to me. I just wanted to let you guys know that you
really appreciate hearing that. I mean, that's what we were going for, was to actually have these characters be characters. So
sweet.
That's definitely important. We definitely appreciate hearing that.
So I'm 100% looking forward to Volume 2. Are you cool if I fast forward to the end and show the teaser for Volume 2?
Yeah, go for it.
Here we go. So towards the end, we're introduced to some what look like are going to be antagonists in Volume 2, and you've also published fun skits for them on your YouTube channel. Yes. I get a real strong Team Rocket from old school Pokemon.
Are you the one who left that comment? I think.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely I wanted to make them, well, I put it old school Team Rocket. They're when you're a parent and you're watching Pokemon with your kid because you have to.
Yeah.
They're the best. They make the show watchable. They're the most fun. And as I got older, I love them more and more.
Right.
And I just kind of was like, you know what? I want to they're fighting the PLA, so these girls are Chinese. And there are some like geopolitical things happening, and there is kind of a what East versus West going on. But I really thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to make these characters really likable and just a lot of fun. And I wrote them, and I'm the one who did the voice directing for them.
Yeah.
And I just had a blast with them. Like they very quickly became my favorite characters.
My first thought, honestly, was I love these villains. I hope the heroes don't kill them because this is war. Because they're a riot.
I very much enjoy them. So
yeah. For people who may not be like like I heard PLA and I thought, oh, the People's Liberation Army. So tell us a little bit about like what the geopolitics is of this. It's basically China. Maybe Russia's involved, and the United States has been.
So basically, there's turmoil, global turmoil, and the United States and China end up in like basically a military standoff in the South China Sea. I think I talk about this in there's the one on our website that's not in the package. It's narrated the backstory, and basically there's a standoff and. China decides that basically, like, the United States is dominating in trade, and it's pretty much time for that century to end. And they team up with a bunch of other countries, and they form the Meta-National Transitory Pact. And the point being, like, they want to transition from basically a Western-led U.S. society, U.S. kind of world, to basically China, Russia, and their allies. So more like an Eastern focus.
Yeah.
And that leads to basically more geopolitical tension. Some other stuff happens. There's problems in Europe, and there's backstories and all that kind of stuff, and national debts, and all the boring things that I kind of gloss over. But basically,
go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was saying basically they launched the war with this disruptor device, which pretty much gives the U.S. like advantage of technology. It just erases that. And if you're talking just numbers like bodies, by 2029 or 2026, when the war starts, like the U.S. is already automating our supply lines, and we don't even use like observation aircraft anymore. We use drones. And if you threw all of that stuff out, and like our fleet's downsized, so if you got rid of all the advantages and it just came to numbers, China and Russia could go toe to toe to us pretty hard, especially if they're not worried about casualties. So that's kind of. I need an excuse for things to really rumble, and I just kind of built the world to my design, and hopefully it doesn't end up being like the real world. Well,
yeah. So here's what I want to say, because what speaks to me about it is you give me just enough like war geek stuff that I say, wow, this is interesting. I can't like be too stupid. I gotta be paying attention. But it's not so much geekery that I check out and it's too complicated. You strike this balance between it just being a blast of a romp, yet also having a little element of that kind of like strategy and that geopolitical situation to it to make me intrigued. I want to find out more about this world and what's going on.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we were going for. I didn't want to make it a complete cartoon in that sense, where it just was like, oh, nothing makes sense, but there's explosions and boobs, so it's cool.
Right. And Dava will be doing the special edition posters for the $40 tier for people who support the Indiegogo campaign. Yes. You also have some neat propaganda posters done by other artists. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Troy Torres, Mr. Marvel, I actually got to introduce his comic to YouTube on my show when he was creating Wanpool. So I was excited to see this.
Sweet. Wanpool's a great romp too, man. I really enjoyed that one.
It's a blast. So I'd like for you to talk a little bit about just like, the process of, discovering these artists, talking to them about the posters. So tell us a little bit about, like, how did you discover Mr. Marvel?
Mr. Marvel, basically, or I guess a couple of years ago at this point, I started like really looking into like, I should really get to know the basically the indie comic community. And really especially for YouTube, it's kind of like everybody who was orbiting around DNC essentially. Right. And by that, I mean like anybody who in that discussion, those were the people I looked at, and I reached out to everybody. And he was really receptive, and I talked with him a couple times. He was really cool. He mentioned he was doing his own thing. I'd seen some of his art, and basically he had time for it, and we needed a commission. And I was like, bro, go for it.
Yeah.
And it was great. So that was basically, I just discover artists essentially by seeing their stuff and then just talking to them. And I want to throw work to as many people as I can.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much finances and time are what limit things. So
now, I'd never known your other artists that you did for these posters before. So I'd love to just like know a little bit about them too. Like,
sure. Which ones? I'm losing.
Let's see here. Macmillan was drawn by Nightwalker MC. So
yes,
I'm guessing
Maria. I found her on Facebook. I don't even remember what I had originally looked at. I think it was art for like Near Automata, and it was so cute and so cool that I just messaged her basically like, "Hey, are you available to do a poster?" And she was, and she gave us a price, and we're like, "Okay." And we've been working with her since. So she's working on one right now, actually, for us.
Yeah.
So she's been great. So that's how we found her. We just kind of happenstance and just build a good rapport and keep throwing her work.
And I like the kind of sensibility of seeing these character designs interpreted in a semi-realistic style. It just shows that these designs work, right? These characters can kind of translate across, different media or different, ideas from different artists.
Yeah. And one of the important things was basically, I don't know if you noticed, like in the concept art, it's like, if you see their silhouette, you still get like a pretty good sense of like what the character's about.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like they're all distinct, yet they're all human form.
Yeah.
So, which is, it's hard to do, and we set out to kind of do that, and I think we did. So it seems like it's translating, because when they're made to look realistic, it still looks like them, which is good.
This one of it's Corporal Kara. What's her last name?
Adams.
Corporal Kara Adams. Okay, this one's by Andava. So this is the artist doing the special posters for the Indiegogo, right?
Yes, it's a special variant of that poster right there. -1 blue shirt. Let's just
say. Okay.
But it's not loot or anything. It's just
right. Well, it's World War II cheesecake, right? You are.
Yeah, it's just cheesecake.
I'm not going to give you
like it's like a 40s pinup kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a World War II tradition. Norman Rockwell painted them on the sides of airplanes, for crying out loud. And this last one is by Zerdy.
Nathan Cesardy. Yeah, he does these like crazy pinups that are like this one you see here, and it's just like they're just beautiful. And it was just another guy I found. I reached out to him. He was available, and he did it. And we had offered him other ones, and he's just been so damn busy. It's like, all right. So, I mean, we were lucky to get him basically when we did. So,
well, I enjoy that you've like brought like you said, you're finding people, you're commissioning them, you want to get them work. I enjoy seeing these like other artistic interpretations on like your cast of your main four. Oh, okay. We haven't talked about the main four that much. And one of the things I like about them is that you really quickly establish they have 4 distinct personalities and 4 distinct sets of skills, which is like, that's the basis of every good action story, is each member of the team contributes something, and their personalities allow like the character foils to start bouncing off each other. So I want to know a little. Yeah. give us a little bit about who's who, and who should be the best waifu of 2019, pretty much.
I've been told many times it's Millie.
Yeah.
And I'm not allowed to say anything else but Millie. But well, more on a serious note with them. I mean, you pretty much nailed it on the head. It's basically just like, how do I build a crew that they're diverse and they have different relationships with each other, and they still function as a unit but are very different people. And basically, I layered their backstories in, which I guess from the audio. Mm-hmm. And we ended up making Kara and Lexi best friends, like from childhood, so they kind of mirror Jack and Hatch. And then Millie's suffered a lot of loss, but she's still kind of part of this new family group. And then Hunter's surrounded in a lot of mystery, but it's kind of that confidence, that kind of motherliness to her, who holds it together. And I mean, I could, if you ask me questions about the characters specifically, I can answer that too. But I mean, but that was pretty much the idea. Like what you said is like basically make them diverse, because like what would be the A team if there were like 5 Murdochs? Like nobody would care.
Ha! Good point. Well, I mean, but we could talk about them individually too, because I am kind of interested. So Hunter is the first one they meet, and she's the first impression I have is that she's the most she's a straight woman. Right, audio logs. It turns out she's a nurse, so she gets drafted as a combat medic, and she just so happens to be geographically near the historic location of the 13th Armored Tank Division, which then gets resurrected. Right. So far, she seems confident. She seems pretty straight laced, but we don't get too much of her psyche apart from her being her family being fans of the Cowboys. Like, she doesn't even say I'm a Cowboys fan. Her family are Cowboys fans. So I don't even know that about. I don't even know whether she likes the Cowboys or not. So
yeah, her cousin, which is that's another story we have planned. So
all right.
But yes, Hunter is indeed shrouded in mystery, and we will reveal more of that as the story goes on.
All right.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, basically, we need somebody who is not a girl, definitely a woman who's a leader to lead the group, and that's she's got the medical training. She's a good fit for the Special Missions Unit, which is kind of like this fictional group we made up.
Yeah.
That does sort of like tank special forces essentially, and I mean that's what she's all about. So.
And Specialist McMillan, okay, the front runner for waifu of the year. Let's see. What I like about her is she has this tendency to name her guns and talk about her guns as like living things. And I picked up a little bit like Siggy maybe for Sig Sauer, Ellie for an elite. So to talk a little bit about like that aspect of her.
Yeah, we wanted. She definitely was conceived as the darkest of the group, but we wanted to make her quirky enough where it was still fun. And I just one of the kind of running gags is kind of like every time she basically reappears, and you'll notice this even in the posters. Every time she has a gun, it's a different gun. So she's just kind of
no one even knows how large her gun collection
is. Yeah, no one even knows how many guns she has, kind of deal.
Is it perhaps bottomless? Is it like video, all the video game design in the late 90s where you just held every gun that exists on your person? Maybe she can do that with the real world guns. I don't know.
Maybe that's the twist. But the point being is she suffered great loss, which if you listen to her audio logs, you can get a view into that.
Yeah.
And she's on a vengeance mission, but it's very hollow for her.
Yeah.
And we wanted to give her kind of a fixation on something that basically to add to her, so she's not just like a completely cold killing machine.
Yeah.
And the gun thing, I don't remember where that idea came from, but that's just kind of what happened with her.
I mean, her being a sniper.
So or her being a sniper, yeah.
Has to be very proficient with weapons, probably.
Yeah.
Blended to it. And there's also...
it helps me... I was just going to say, it helps me read the lieutenant as like a believable leader because she's such a stable personality. It makes sense how like a brilliant person like Millen, who has like this, these problems for her,
yeah,
right, that she's trying to work through. It makes sense how Hunter would kind of be like a mother or be like a stable influence on her team.
Yeah, definitely. That's the sense we're portraying, and that's 100% accurate. So basically, like she's McMillan's got a lot of weight, but she's really proficient, and basically her respect for the lieutenant is what allows her to be effective.
Yeah,
and she's very much a piece of the team.
Yeah.
So. Yep.
For the engineer, Corporal Kara, dang it, I lost it again. What's her last name?
Adams.
Kara.
Sorry,
Adams,
you just call her Kara. That's fine.
All right. I knew their first names. All right, so Kara Adams. The tsundere of the group. I was really interested by the side story you did for her in the audio logs, where she talks about going to college and just being disgusted by intellectuals. She has this real worldview to her.
Yeah, she is really stubborn and really she is kind of a dark I don't know if the word's like libertarian is not really the word, but like she's very cynical about what she's seen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very, very it's made her very, very bitter. And the way she copes with that is maybe not the healthiest way in the way she treats other people. But she's 100% basically motivation. That's, you know, she believes in the cause and screw everybody else. She's probably the character who the war essentially she believes in the war and believes in the fighting more than probably anybody else does.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily it's both good and bad for her. It's a double-edged sword. It's bad in the sense of you can tell she's kind of suffering a lot, psychologically, but like emotionally, she's suffering a lot from this passion. But at the same time, it really makes her formidable. It makes her really stubborn.
Yeah,
which is a good quality in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but
so
also
that was her deal. Basically, was just like she went full. I'm trying to think of the word. She's full Kara.
Warhawk. I don't know.
Warhawk.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's tenacious.
Right.
So
she's the part of the story that makes the contrast with Hatch, right? Because he's got this idealistic dream, and she's like a cynical realist. And
but what's funny is they both believe in the same things.
Yeah.
But they have completely different ways of expressing it. And yeah, like she's cynical realist, and she has complete self-confidence. Like she does not give a shit at all. Sorry for language, but she doesn't care at all, basically.
All right.
And Hatch is the opposite of that. And hopefully when they're talking, it's an awkward conversation, and it's very terrible. And it's because she can basically like sense that from him, and just the way he holds himself, the way he words things, the way he's trying to be nice to her. She doesn't want anything to do with it. She's like, it's not her problem. And he can't impress her, and it's tough. So that's that's kind of where that's going. Ayn Randian, somebody said, yeah, a little bit. That kind of it's like a cynical. It's just like a cynical determination, I guess.
Right. Lexi. Okay, so all I want to say about Lexi is when I heard the audio logs you did for her, she has a personality where I can tell you guys have a lot of fun writing her. So what's it like to write a character like Lexi?
Well, I had her take over the Twitter a couple times. And if you can tell, like, not that she's necessarily easy to write for, but like Mike and I love really stupid humor. Like we love like little jokes, like the way Mega 64 does stuff. Little bits of confusion. And basically we're like, okay, let's take a character who's really, really sweet and really powerful, and then just kind of like just turn it up to 11. And she's just, you can just tell, like, it's just goofy. It's just us being like as goofy as possible, and that's kind of how she is.
Well, she's silly and fun, but she's also innocent, and I think that helps make her unique. She's like a child. She's like the people you meet, like in the backwoods town you grew up in, right?
A little bit. She hasn't lost the her sense of kind of wonder, and she's very grounded. Like you tell when like the stuff she talks about her friends, and she talks about Kara and then the other tankers. Like that's what she cares about, because they're right in front of her, and she contrasts Kara in that sense, who Kara thinks about more of the macro, and Lexi's the complete opposite. Lexi's super grounded. Like it's what's right in front of her is what's important, and that's what she'll care about. Yeah, and so she's the balance in that sense.
Bada bing, bada boom. Great team. All right, I'm going to close this out so I can keep an eye on the live chat now.
Sure.
Who have questions.
Yeah, if anybody's got questions,
I will say,
open.
To answer the original question, waifu of 2019, a year ago I would have said Millie. But I guess the hipster in me, now that everyone's saying Millie, is starting to think like maybe getting repeatedly beaten over the head with a wrench, it wouldn't be so bad.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I just said beat it instead of beaten. So English is my first language.
Well, actually, we do have a couple fans on Twitter who are like Kara all the way.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's kind of it's funny like who the people connect to. So oh, what happened? Oh, we lost our screen for a second. Yeah, like everybody kind of seems to pick somebody who they either want to be their friend or waifu or whatever the hell, and that's kind of what we were going for. We want to have a diverse enough cast where people find them, people connect with somebody, because if they're not connecting with a character, you don't really have a good story.
And because they work as a team, even if there's like a character you don't like as much as the others, you're using them, in proportion. They're each contributing something to the total effect. Yeah.
So that's definitely something we wanted to do.
Let me see here. I've asked you about, talked about Benjamin Harvey. We've talked a little about Andava and the other artists you've got. So I'm just curious if you can break any news on the #1 Marmaduke Fan Show for Volume 2, because we've got this great setup. The team's all together. They're facing down the comedic villain trio. What kinds of things could we look forward to? Obviously, we can look forward to more tanks and girls in Volume 2, but why should I be excited for Volume 2?
Volume 2, you'll get more closure to particularly the guys' arcs. You'll get definitely them working, all four of them, as a team more. In the first book, they're working as a team kind of beginning, and then they get split up, and you get to kind of dive into them. Book 2, definitely, you get all four of them in action a lot more. And you get to know the Chinese girls. So that's kind of the focus of Volume 2. And yeah, so that's we really want to tell that story. It's basically financial at this point.
Right. So that's something good to underscore. So I've read the book. I enjoyed the book. I jumped right on that Indiegogo campaign because that's the opportunity for individual people to make comic projects that they like happen. And Girls in Panzer came up immediately, but I like you guys. I enjoyed Girls in Panzer, but I enjoy you guys more because you're doing a story with some depth to it, right? And
okay.
I can hear you're passionate, and I want you to get that chance to make it happen. So I'm just gonna personally recommend to everybody, please, if at all possible, support the Indiegogo campaign for a column. At least check it out and share it. Maybe like Girls and Tanks and Explosions and action adventure comedy isn't your thing, but maybe you have friends where that's their thing, and you could share that with them and give it a chance to introduce this neato indie project to them.
I appreciate that, definitely.
What other things might not be on the horizon for you guys? Do you I can tell you're a real good duo. Are there more projects in the back burner that
I have 1,000 ideas, and I want to do everything from more comics to board games to commission stuff, and it's basically financial. That's kind of where the limitations are, and we're focusing on this because this is our responsibility right now. This is what we owe on. So hopefully we can make this successful and then keep doing other stuff. So that's our goal. There's plenty of stuff in the pipe. There's always things in the pipe. It's just a matter of time and money.
Did you guys ever listen to those little Disney books with audio cassettes that came out in the late 80s and early 90s?
I vaguely remember them as a little kid.
Okay. We talked a little bit about this at the beginning. So I've always seen the aborted attempts at doing audio comics. Like Marvel would do it on records, and then there was a motion comic craze in the 2000s that seems to have died out. But I'm really impressed by the quality of the audio logs, and it depended upon funding. I think that's something that could speak to young people who don't want to sit down and read a book. There are always going to be people like me who just want the book. We want to look at it. We want to hold it in our hands. That's why I wanted to back the physical edition. Is I want this on my shelf. But I think for a generation of people, YouTube's become their entertainment format.
That's definitely. I mean, the audio logs with the extra level immersion, that was definitely part of it. Was hey, maybe the reading, and also there's Kindle. There's a lot of digital competition too. And we wanted to add that extra level of immersion that basically you don't normally get from a comic. And that was the audio is what came of that. And we've been getting pretty, it's weird. It's some people they don't care at all, or it's like the greatest thing they've ever heard and they want more of it. So
Yeah. So Carl's Amateur Hour writes, call him the radio drama. And no kidding, like however you got this directed, you got sound effects, you've got music. It sounds like a legit radio drama that could get me, that could almost be a vehicle of getting me immersed in the story as well.
We didn't shy on quality. We figured if we're going to do the audio, we better do it right.
Yeah. So this might be more for Mike Moore. Like, what exactly was the process of getting that done? Because it's almost just like so weird. You got a whole like radio spot thing done. What all goes into that?
Ooh, well, first Tim writing it. He is lead writer. Oh man, where to begin? All right, how much time do we have? No. I guess, yeah, well, Tim came up. Well, first we had the music just because, like he was saying a long time ago, 50 minutes ago, whatever, this was a game originally, so I'd already started making music for that. It was like, why don't we repurpose it and have a book with a soundtrack? And then Tim came up with the idea of, doing these logs. And basically, I helped him a little bit, maybe refine something, but he pretty much writes all of it. We had the Chinese girls, we actually had the opportunity somewhat to work directly with them because two of them were in New York. We're out near Philadelphia. Whatever. The other ones we had were directed by the guy who recorded them. And they basically just like send a few different takes that just in
you
case.
got to leave notes to make sure they kind of are saying things right, and
or if they have like different, like you could go this way or that way. So
also that's the advantage to hiring like professionals is that you don't have a lot of like they just do a good job first time.
The different takes aren't because like one of them is bad or whatever, it's just different variations. And I just compiled that, which I had experience from. We made crappy machinima 10 years ago that you can try scouring the internet for that. Actually, it wasn't that crappy.
Well, no,
it was good for what we were doing.
Okay, you got to at least give me a clue so I can go scour the internet for your crappy machinima. Now.
Should we just tell? Yeah, it's called Respawn in 5. That was our channel name.
Yeah,
it should, unless YouTube nuked it, that should still be up somewhere.
It might nuke it. I don't even know how to log into it.
If it is, there you go, and you'll.
I think the Bungie Day thing is probably, that's the most fun.
But so I guess. There's maybe a little more technical experience that I need for my job. I'm not like bragging about that or saying that makes it more or less important. Just so I had been studying some audio engineering in college, and I don't know. I guess you need that background if you want to be doing that kind of stuff. But basically whatever. We had him professional. A lot of the recording was out of my hands, but I just edited it and. I'm very glad to hear that it turned out well. A lot of it was also just kind of, I don't know, trying to compare myself to vaguely similar professional things and then listen back to what I had.
Yeah, thank God for the internet too, because like if you really don't know how to do something, the internet at least kind of points you in the right direction.
Yeah, people with tips on like audio engineering and stuff help.
Yeah,
and I've even listening back to some of the things. It's like I already know how I could have done some things a little better, and hopefully, but. Yeah, sorry, I don't know where I was going with that. You probably have you found our crappy machinima already that quickly?
Some people in the chat, we were not on the machinima channel. It was.
No.
We're saying machinima as in like we used Halo.
The actual just making videos out of a video game
genre
visual.
You got to talk about this a little bit earlier when you mentioned like trying to be in the game industry and like it being a tough industry and you can get screwed over. But I kind of want to understand what the origin story of the Tim Morris, Mike Moore dream team is, because you guys are like you're like right on top of each other. It's like you brothers separated from birth. Parallel universe, and you found your twin. How did this? What's the origin story of this team?
I don't know. We've been good friends since middle school.
Yeah,
best friends in high school, and we didn't go to the same college, but we stayed close.
Like over summer.
Over summer, I don't know. We gamed together a lot, and then we were kind of similar interests, and we kind of discovered anime at the same time.
I guess and developed a similar sense of humor.
Yeah,
I think it's if you just have someone that you
Similar sense of humor definitely helps.
Excuse me. Yeah, you consume the same sort of media and enjoy the same sort of media, I should say.
Yeah, we love our 80s action.
I think that helps a lot. Also, the other day I was giving all props due the greatest game console of all time. First of all, I should say is really responsible for Column, the Ouya. Everyone remembers.
I forgot.
Sorry,
that was the original. Yeah, that was the development. It was,
that's what Column was going to be.
That's what it was supposed to be.
It was going to be an Ouya game.
Well, it wasn't called Column. It was called something else. But
well, all right,
whatever. I want to say it's like I basically that's what got us to be like, okay, we're gonna professionally do something, and then
everybody email us. Was it better that it turned out to be what it is now, or
Yeah.
should it have been an Ouya game?
Should have been on Ouya, exactly.
And then that weird joke that I literally just made, that dumb sense of humor. That's Tim shares that. So getting back to your real question, I don't know, maybe stuff like that helps. I have no idea.
Well, it makes sense that you guys were like to get together since kids, because you both bring something unique to Column, and you both bring your own passion. It's great, and both aspects of Column so far have me dead interested. The comic aspect is interesting. The audio drama aspect is interesting. I really hope that you guys get a chance to find, I don't know, like a cartoon of it.
This would be
likes it.
In the back of my head, it's always like, when
this
could be an awesome animation.
When we were developing the script, that's why also I think that was a learning experience for it. The original, a lot of the dialogue, like Tim had mentioned before, like we're huge fans of the show Psych. So a lot of the dialogue, between Jack and Hatch was kind of like longer back and forth. And like crazy references,
like
and
stuff.
jokes.
If you were saying stuff like, actually, like if you watch Psych and like you hear like Gus and Sean going back and forth. And sometimes it'll just go on for the scene, and they'll be doing something, and the dialogue's covered by whatever they're doing, and that's kind of what makes it entertaining because it's funny.
Yeah, that doesn't.
But like that does not translate on a comic. You have to pretty much look at it and be like, sometimes just a facial expression, will just cut it, and you have to be willing to sacrifice a lot of those kind of jokes for sure. So that was definitely a learning experience.
Imagine money was no object, and there was going to be a Column animated series. Would you rather have a Western studio or style, or an anime studio or style?
It would depend on the studio and how much control we were given over casting and that kind of stuff. I wouldn't. I mean, probably would lean more towards anime. I wouldn't want to look
especially
like
visually. I guess the only
visually I have to say Eastern.
The only issue there being, of course, you literally just asked this like, what's this dream hypothetical, and I'm already like, well, practically. But I don't know if maybe speaking of humor, the language barrier might. Of, like the timing on jokes and stuff. I don't know if maybe there would be issues there or not.
Yeah.
Well, we'd have to get a studio here that would do. I guess they would subcontract
maybe something like that. Like
something.
you just need. I don't know.
That's not unheard of. Like Korean. When people say Western animation, like that's becoming Korean animation.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Just not whatever Crunchyroll's doing apparently.
All right. Well, I've gotten to ask all my burning questions about Column. So I'd like to give you two a chance to let the listeners know anything else you'd like to let them to know as a takeaway about, what you've appreciated about doing Column and why they should give this book a shot.
Hopefully you'll give it a shot because we designed it to be fun and enjoyable, and hopefully it'll make you happy, and you'll get to know some characters. You'll get some little extra level of immersion with the audio. It's full color. It's 96 pages plus, I guess, or something like that. It's over 90 pages. So the price is pretty good, we think. And I mean, support us so we can bring you more. I mean, it's a matter of us wanting to deliver more stuff and hopefully make you guys happy. And that's what it's about.
Well, you got the Marmaduke vote of approval.
Thank you.
That's
real.
That's appreciated. Thank you.
All right. So the Indiegogo campaign is linked in the description below. I will be keeping an eye on you guys, and I just want to let you know you have an open invite back on this show when there are more opportunities to, I don't know, either fund Volume 2 or announce to the world Volume 2. Breaking news on my channel. But anything related to volume one
we'll
or
keep you
volume
in the
two?
loop.
Good, because I want to have you on, because I think you're showing a lot of promise in volume one, and I think there's a lot of potential for this to keep on going.
That's appreciated, and we need the fans backing. Otherwise, we get all the potential we want, but if they don't want it, we can't keep doing it. So
the X is here. The X, well, we're just about wrapping up, but what you should do, the X, is you should check out the Indiegogo comic linked in the description. It's a lot of fun. It has girls and tanks and explosions in it, and I love it. And then you guys should watch this video after the live stream ends. Then YouTube will make it a regular video. And please do share the URL for the Indiegogo campaign, just like on your Twitter or your Facebook. I think this would speak to I think what you've written will speak to a lot of people. It's rated 16 and up, for like some, violence and some mature themes, but you are writing a serious story. Yeah, it's a war story. You're writing a serious story that's using the mature themes to tell a serious story. You're not using serious themes for the sake of being like, edgelords or anything.
no, we're not 14 anymore. No more edgelords.
Yeah. All right. Well, you guys have been great. I've really enjoyed columns. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to say good night.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening and for checking it out.
You are.
Oh, hi. Yeah, sorry. I'm Mike. Tim was reminding me to you guys don't know my voice yet? Yeah, no, really. Profound thank you. And thank you very much, Marmaduke, for having us.
You are welcome.
Right. Yeah, I'm Tim. I am the writer for Column, the creative director for All Blink Productions. We appreciate your guys' support. Thank you, Marmaduke, for having us on. And if any of you guys have questions, you can reach out to us on Twitter or Facebook, or I think our email's listed too. We'll answer anything. And for a limited time, the digital version's free on ComixCentral for probably at least the next couple days. So if you want to sneak a peek of what you're going to be getting physically beforehand, that's probably a good way to do it as well. So, yep, we appreciate your guys' support.
Excellent. Thank you both. Thank you both. All right. Bye, everybody.